Welcome back. All right, so while we wait on guys like Kadri to get signed, the Ottawa Senators continue to just do their due diligence. They've added Antoine Bibeau, which is, of course, minor league goaltender. You need those. You need that depth in the organization. They added Jacob Larson, another depth. That's the depth defenseman, former first rounder of the Anaheim Ducks, added to Ottawa, and they locked down Josh Norris today. So, 8-year extension worth $63.6 million. The cap hit $7.95 million per season. So, Josh Norris, who's 23 years of age, his prime years are going to be in Ottawa. He is an Ottawa Senator, and he's going to stay an Ottawa Senator for a long time. In 66 games this past season, 35 goals, 20 assists, 55 points. And kind of slipped under the radar. People don't pay very much attention to Ottawa. And I get it, but I think fans this year are going to have to pay more attention to Ottawa and guys like Norris. It is ridiculous the amount of goals this team has the potential to score. I say that because you look at their additions, you look at a guy like Giroux, who's not going to score a bunch of goals, but he's very good at setting up goals at the net. I think Ottawa's doing quite well, and having Norris locked down for 8 years, there's risk. There's obviously risk. The one thing that, of course, there might be said is, well, he hasn't played that many games in the NHL. The risk is there. The way the contracts have been structured over the last, I'll say 4 or 5 years, they now pay based on that potential. So, in the case of Colin White, Ottawa bet on that potential. It ended up not coming through due to injuries and other various reasons. And so with Norris, the bet is a little safer than it was with White. Now, it's also a lot more expensive than it was with Colin White because White didn't have a 35-goal season to go on. But with Norris, he should be at least a 30-goal scorer going forward. And on a team that just added DeBrincat, added Giroux, this top six has the potential to be quite good. And this is a team that's still apparently in negotiations to bring in another defenseman. I'm not going to report on which one necessarily because, again, until that takes place, it's just rumor. But they are looking at bringing in another defenseman, and that really would solidify everything with them if they could bring in another top four defenseman. And they now have extra forwards too, so if they wanted to, spice things up a bit, and they've got all those draft picks, maybe this is a team that now would be willing to move a first-round pick next year. They might be like, you know what? It's not going to be, I know, it's Bedard draft, right? And you'd be like, hey, wait, don't you dare. But still, for Ottawa, they have to, go out there and say, hey, we at the very least think we're not going to be in contention for that Bedard pick. And so we'll see what they do. Now, on the Montreal front, according to their general manager, who spoke to the press today, they are still having talks about moving Jeff Petry. Dallas, I would think, is still probably the front runner. But remember, Klingberg's still out there. Now, Klingberg wanted a maximum term contract. I don't know that he's necessarily going to get that, but there will be other teams in the market for Petry. Petry had a better finish to the season than he had a start to the season. So that's some good news there that Montreal's still working the phones and trying to move on from Petry, which has been the rumor. It's not an Ottawa rumor either. That's not the guy Ottawa's rumored to be after, but also, Carey Price will be seeing a doctor later this month about his knee issues and the ongoing complications and issues he's suffering with that. So we will see what happens with Carey Price, whether or not he plays this season. I think Montreal would like clarity after that doctor meeting, and then they'll decide what they're going to do for this coming season. Jake Allen might play a lot. There's a possibility he plays a lot. Maybe Caden Primo, they decide, we can use him as a backup if we need to. But either way, Carey Price is going to see a doctor. I'm hoping Price is good for this coming season, but all the indications seem to be it hasn't really got much better. And it kind of feels a lot to me like what Ben Bishop went through with Dallas before he had to kind of give up and say it's not going to work. Now, also, the talk of the hockey world is still the Johnny Gaudreau signing with Columbus. I'm wearing a Blue Jackets jersey. It looks less weird for me to be wearing one than Johnny Gaudreau. Johnny Gaudreau wearing that today and all smiles, and the question gets asked, why Columbus? And there's an article on Sportsnet written by Eric Francis, which, right there, I mean, Johnny Gaudreau's saying it was he talked it over, right? He talked it over with family, what he wanted to do, and decided that being in Columbus, which is about an hour's flight from home, is better than being in Calgary, right? So it's not New Jersey, it's not right there, but it's still a lot closer to home. And I get it. I absolutely get it. And he said he spent 12 years in the Calgary organization and he loved it and he loved the, being there and the fans and all this. But the emotional side of things right now, the one thing I'll say is I remember when Bure left Vancouver, and all Canuck fans that I talked to seemed to say, hate the guy, can't, I'm glad he's gone, spoiled, just wants to, he can go down to Florida, we don't care. He's gone up to Florida, we don't care. Guy's a bum. And then within a couple of years, he was producing a lot of goals in Florida, and then it was, stupid Canucks. And so fan opinions will change, but the sentiment against Gaudreau seems to get caught up in one thing. And there's one counterpoint to this that should kind of be looked at. The why Columbus, Jarmo Kekalainen addressed this yesterday, that he was tired of the BS. He was tired of the BS that nobody wants to play in Columbus. And so this signing, he went all in on this because he knows that Columbus is a great place to play. He knows that they're going to be able to put together a team that can compete for the Stanley Cup. And he went after Johnny Gaudreau, and Gaudreau signed there. And I think that's what kind of gets lost in this. This could be huge for Columbus as an organization. This signals to their fans, hey, we went out and got the biggest name on the market. This is a market that has had times where they're not selling tickets in the vast amounts that other locations are. I know when I've done videos on attendance issues with certain locations that Columbus is usually down nearer the bottom than one might expect. So this should generate ticket sales. The team today saying that until Friday you get 20% off of personalization to your jerseys, meaning, hey, if you want a Johnny Hockey jersey, we'll sell it to you. You'll get 20% off that customization. So this is a chance for Columbus to have a win that the organization has never really had. Like looking back over Columbus's history, they've never really been a team that gets that big name free agent. I've talked about it in videos. I've talked about it many, many times. And that perception being that Columbus can't hold on to star players, that guys don't want to go there. So while I understand the frustration from a Calgary perspective and this idea that he's betrayed them, to then frame it with but why in the world would want to go to Columbus? From everything I've heard, Columbus's facilities are fantastic. The building is amazing, and it's a good organization, right? Panarin just wanted to go to New York. Bobrovsky ends up getting $10 million a year to play in Florida. And I don't think that if you went back and Columbus gave them $21 million combined in cap space, I don't know that Columbus would be better off. I don't have an answer to that. And that's one thing that I try to point out in Free Agent Frenzy too, that these are huge moves. It doesn't necessarily move the needle. Does Gaudreau give them a Stanley Cup? Well, no. They're going to have to make other moves, but it definitely helps. I do think that before the press conference, it would have been good if when they asked him, who would you like, which center are you looking forward to playing with, if he had done a little bit more homework. In the comment section yesterday, I noticed somebody saying, hey, there's Kent Johnson. And I thought, Kent Johnson, a really good young prospect. That might be interesting to try for at least a couple of games and see how that works. There's never been a feeling of excitement when it comes to the Columbus Blue Jackets organization. There's always been this feeling that they're there, they were added. I did their history video last week. And when I do videos, so when I do the 32 teams, Columbus is usually the least viewed. Columbus is usually the one that gets the least amount of attention. And you can look at that and go, well, that means they have the least amount of fans. But it's not just that. There just hasn't been the interest. People look and go, who cares about Columbus? Well, it's a Columbus video. Who cares? Adding Johnny Gaudreau signals that maybe things are going to change in Columbus. For Kekalainen, it's a huge win. So I understand the frustration in Calgary. I get it. I also understand why Johnny Gaudreau looks and goes, you know what? This is a great location for me. The other thing I found funny was people saying, well, he's American. Americans wouldn't choose to sign in Canada. I'm a Canuck fan. We've got Demko in net. We've got Besser up front, and that Quinn Hughes kid on the blue line. They all chose to stay in Vancouver. So they all signed pretty decent contracts for Vancouver. And so, yeah, it's Johnny Gaudreau making his decision, and I respect him for that. The vitriol will die off. It always does. That anger, that frustration always dies off. I expect the number 13 to get retired by the Calgary Flames when his career is finished, but it's nowhere near done. And so we're not done watching it, and that those games between Columbus and Calgary are now going to generate a lot of viewers. They're going to be ones that people really want to see. So it also helps the National Hockey League. But again, it raises that profile for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I really think that's important for a team that's been in the league for over 2 decades. They're now in the position where people are going to be like, hey, Columbus game's on. I want to see what happens with Johnny there tonight. That first game for Columbus with Johnny Gaudreau in the lineup, people are going to watch that who otherwise wouldn't have. So, again, I understand people being upset. I remember being upset myself when certain players would leave Vancouver. Sometimes I was mad at the team. Sometimes I was mad at the player, depending on the circumstance. But I think this is going to be good for hockey. So, as somebody who watches all 32 teams, I think this is going to change the attack for Columbus. They do need a really good center to go out there and be able to play with them. The thing is, if it's a center that's going to play between Gaudreau, let's just say it's Johnny Gaudreau and his Patrik Laine on either wing. You have to have a puck distributor, a guy who is an elite passer in the middle of the ice. It has to be somebody who's not a goal scorer, because I've seen where teams will throw a line together. It's like, wow, that's an elite line. And I'll look at the stats and go, all 3 of those guys score goals. They're not great passers. I don't know if that's going to work. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. If they can get an elite passer in between Gaudreau and Laine, absolute profit. But for Columbus, I still think this is a win. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.